Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone? Hope you're well. Welcome to the Sunday stream. And just wanted to have a general discussion, not any specific topic. Well, it is a topic, but it's more something personal for me. I'm sure people who have followed my channel for a while have noticed that I've mellowed out over the years. And I think it's kind of natural that not just that people change, but you change because you either get tired of something, you've worked your frustrations out, or you realize that you're making mountains out of molehills, or whatever it might be. I find it evidence of something not working or something dysfunctional if you are complaining about the exact same things and you've actually done nothing about it, or you haven't tried to implement any solutions. And I realize that there is a really nice energy and power towards getting annoyed, being defensive, being angry. Angry makes you feel alive. I realize that. You're never more alive when you're on the edge of perishing, of fear. I get that survival mechanism. You just feel so alive defending yourself from a corner. The will to live, you know, that thing. But when you're speaking on a microphone and you're publishing to the internet and life is relatively safe, most of the fear is either bullshit or it's you're not addressing the issues. And maybe it's just a function of getting older, where you fought the good fight. Most of it was more or less a video game and not really anything to be worried about. And it's you've just made peace with a lot. And I know a lot of the guys that used to follow my channel before because of my fight, and I was a little bit more acerbic than I am now. What's the point of saying you want to go your own way, you want to be happy, you want to find peace, if you keep arguing and complaining? You can keep saying you're happy, and you can keep saying you're at peace and content, and you don't need this, and you don't need this person, you don't need that, and you reject everything. But if you're always bitter and fighting and defending, like, shouldn't you be in a place where you don't need to defend anything anymore? And it's evidence when you look at some of these people, they're still fighting the same way. And it's different from recalling things that used to annoy you and you can laugh about them. But some of these people, you listen to them and they feel like they're there again. And I can't pretend to be there again. I can agree with almost everything I used to say before, but a lot calmer. I can acknowledge a lot of the things. But I can't pretend to be as annoyed and frustrated at not being able to figure things out when I have. And most of it comes to letting go and not caring. A lot of it comes to, okay, now you know what your boundaries are. Now you just reject things. You really do. Before you fought things, I think speaking for myself, a lot of the guys, they used to fight and they pretend to be going their own way, which is letting go. Really not caring what other people think, which is the basis of Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, right? That's the going your own way, not really caring and feeling calm and content. Your heart rate doesn't rise and you really feel good about going forward. And whatever other people say, they can't make you negotiate with your values. You kind of look at them and it's like, yeah, I don't care, mum. I don't care, dad. I don't care, chicky poo. You know yourself. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't have to say, yes, dear, yes, mummy, yes, boss. You get to the point where you really don't care. You have gone your own way and you've burnt the bridge and there's no going back. People can't manipulate you anymore. It's really nice. Now, I have my days where the old me comes back, and for whatever reason, I don't like myself on those days, even now when they rarely come along. And I just feel grumpy or a little bit pissed off and I overreact to small things, but that's very rare. Whereas before, almost everything was a fight and me getting on a podium to stand up for myself, you know. Now I don't have to. Most times I don't care. I'm just very comfortably, and it's not even though I have to protect my tranquility. I feel like my tranquility where I am is so far from people's slings and arrows, and even the people around me, when they have a bad day, I'm very aware not to let it affect me. It's like I'll be there for the people that I care about in my life, but when they try and impose it on me and try and shame me, and they tell me that I should feel guilty or that I should feel empathy in a way that I should wallow in their misery, I just can't. I get pissed off that, like, I will be sympathetic to you and I will do the right thing, but don't ask me to be miserable with you. I can't. The misery loves company thing, I just can't do it anymore. It goes for the people online. It goes for the people in my life. I just find it almost impossible. And I see a very clear line between sympathizing and empathizing, but also standing in the same shit that they're standing in. And they might not be able to help how they're feeling. I'm sorry for that, but I'm not making your situation better by standing in shit with you. I will help you, but if the only way to help you is to say and do all the miserable bullshit that you believe in at the moment, I just can't do it. I can't. It's not helping you. It's not helping me. It's not helping anyone. Across says, in regards to the title, maybe it's due to realizing in the end it's about providing your right, nor try to win the argument, more like you realize it's not worth getting upset over. I don't know. Yeah, it's all of that. In the end, it comes down to what words work for you and what will help your mindset have a sense of equilibrium or, peace. Fighting all the time, it feels good, but, standing with your back against the wall, with your sword out, swinging at everything, just to feel safe. There is just a simple beauty to life where you just don't feel like you have to defend yourself against anything anymore. Karu says, maturity is realizing that most of the problems you no longer have are the mental issues that you treated along the way. But as we all know, it's society's fault. Yeah, people will still default to the easy solution. People don't check themselves. Sometimes they've done a lot of work and they know the answer, and then their old patterns creep in through the back door because they're so easy and comfortable. You feel them so easily that it feels natural. It's like, yeah, but the government and women and all these other things that you blame, you think, oh, that was easy to feel. That must be real. That must be naturally true. It's like, no. It snuck through the back door of your old thinking that was so habitual that it feels easy, but easy doesn't mean correct. Aldo says, it's okay to empathize, but you must know how far it can go every time you do. It can get dark, yeah. And some people don't mean to drag you down into their pit, but they will. But it's up to you to realize, or at least have one hand in reality. There was a great line by Paul Stanley from Kiss that says, I will help anyone who's drowning as long as they don't pull me under. And that's a really good way to look at it. Let's see. Oh, by the way, I'm multi-streaming this at the moment. So if anyone is interested, my Kick, I'm also streaming on Kick if you want to join me there. My handle is all capitals, human on Kick, and the word on is in lowercase, but everything else is upper. So human, uppercase, on, lowercase, Kick, uppercase. So if you're looking for me on Kick, that's my handle. So let me know your experience, and I would say the older you are, the more this might resonate with an answer. What helped you argue less or see the futility in arguing, especially the same circular points that you're really fluent in, and it's tempting to say the same memes, It's tempting for a long time for me to say the same memes that I used to say 10 to 20 years ago about women's society, feminism, and all of that. And not that it's not accurate, but it's not useful. It doesn't help. It's accurate in geopolitical description and politics, but in terms of what I think is important, what's going to help your day to day, how you speak, act, and, have some sanity with your parents, with your boss, with your woman, with your man, whatever it might be. That's the main thing. Get that part of your world good. Then with the residue, okay, entertain yourself with politics and really make an effort and try and save the whales or the environment, whatever you care about with that extra, as long as your foundations are good, go ahead, have at it, fill your bucket. Richard says, people want consensus and culture to share an understanding of what is what. Who wants to rehash the basics like it is Groundhog Day all the time? Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, I miss the guys from the past. I miss talking to Stardust and Coltrane and, the late Spetsnaz and the late Paul Proteus, though I never really got to talk to him. I messaged him a few times. And there are a couple of other people like TFM. I like talking to him one-on-one. And even Paul Elam, I had a couple of nice chats with him. There were just a lot of people I enjoyed talking to who are content creators. But after a while, I realized I enjoy talking to them. And as a hello, as a greeting, as a little icebreaker, it's easy to say the memes that we all agree on, like about women, politics, society, and whatever. But then we get to the interesting, individual views on these subjects and around these subjects and our perspective of like seeing them from different angles. That's what's interesting to me, talking to the actual person that knows a little more than the memes. I miss talking to individuals who care about this stuff and who are developing an ethic and a moral based around this stuff, not just repeating lines that get likes, not just repeating what every young, clueless, horny spurg on the internet wants to hear. I'm just tired of that. I don't care. It's not just because I'm older. It's bullshit. It's safe to say the thing that everyone nods their head on and that everyone shakes their head on. You know exactly what works and what doesn't. It's almost like you're a police officer approaching the car and going through your rehearsed lines, asking the person for their license and hello, sir, madam, but you're saying it in a kind of sleazy car salesman way on the internet in these little pockets of men and women and politics and dating and stuff. You're still saying these rehearsed, well-versed lines. And I miss talking to individuals who have gone through stuff, who have learned, who have read, and you can actually talk to a personality. That's the thing I miss the most, the personality of the guys. Stardust is getting his channel dinged by the bots. What does that mean, dinged? As in throttled, cancelled? I don't know. I don't know who Archangel is. Yeah, Paul Elam was good. I enjoyed talking to him. Almost everyone I've talked to in the past, I really don't have anything bad to say about them as individuals. I might say, yeah, I don't agree with this point of view that they said. Doesn't mean I don't like them. I would certainly have a conversation again with them if I had a good conversation with them. There's maybe one or two guys out there that I've had a conversation with that now they've made reaction videos calling me negative stuff. And I'm like, well, you no need to go for a personal attack and start to kind of try and burn me. We might disagree, but I thought we had a good conversation the last time we started. So I don't get that, but Christina says, I stop when openness isn't there. And with certain people, I don't engage at all. Behavioral patterns. Yeah. You can't see when you stop that people pleasing, which I had a lot of it in me. I was my confident self in my private life, but in around family and, you know, work and girlfriends and everything, I was always just doing the script because it worked. Anytime I was my weird, peculiar self with my idiosyncratic little viewpoints from different weird angles, everyone would like scratch their head and I couldn't talk with them. So I just felt foolish. I felt like a person telling a joke at a funeral, figuratively speaking, you know what I mean? So there might be a subject about society and I have a really interesting angle that it appears completely esoteric to them. And they're like, whoa, okay. And they have nothing to say. And so I feel odd, like the spotlight's on me, and I would just be having a conversation on my own. But I want to have a conversation with them, but I can't. So I had to go on the internet, start a channel, and then I was able to have conversations with the peers that I mentioned. Richard says, censored. Oh, do you mean Stardust is getting censored? A lot of us get censored. Any channel that you make where your subject matter isn't ad-friendly will get throttled in the end. Unless you make very, very extreme content in that niche, like Pearly Things and, you know, ABBA and Preach, and you just go all in controversy. But if you're just a regular human being talking about the same stuff, but you're showing that you're not just a one-trick pony, or that you've got a nuanced, albeit especially an intelligent view, especially one that goes against the norm, the powers that be love you being an emotional spurg that will get heavy reactions. But if you want to have a more normal conversation like I'm trying to do, you won't get the views. So Stardust, I haven't watched him for a little while, but I've caught snippets and I've watched the start of some of his videos, but some of the topics, it's just that I'm not interested in the topics, and as I'm sure he feels the same about my channel with some of the topics. But the thing is, I think Stardust is like me. He's very moderate. He's intelligent. He's more intelligent than I am. He's well-spoken. And so he has a point of view that's a lot more moderate. He doesn't have a clickbaity channel. He's not trying to play the game. And so he's in an area where he's not doing the kind of content they want him to do, the extreme one, because they see him in a niche, I think. I don't know. I could be wrong. Hey to the regulars. Hey, Boffin, across, Karu. If you're here during the stream, if you're here, you're one of these wonderful people here, add 3 smiley face emojis before your question, just like Aldo here did. Actually, let me pop out the live chat. That'll put everything. So for instance, Aldo here, see? He pops up like this. And I can see it because he's got emojis. The cherry's okay. I see them. But if you can, look, just put 3 emojis before your question. That's all I ask, right? But if you really want me to see them easily, put smiley faces like Christina. They pop up because my feed is against a black background and I can see bright colors really easily. If you want to make sure 100% that I see your comment, then super chat me during the stream. The links are below this stream. But if you don't want to super chat, just make sure, please, you add 3 emojis. Aldo says, when the values are deeply ingrained within you, you express yourself more fluidly and naturally. It's not the same stiff and partially rehearsed lines. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. It's not the safe, well-rehearsed lines that you know to say half asleep in front of mum, dad, boss, and chickie poo. It's the you that comes alive, that feels happy, even in fun debates and interesting oppositional comments and discussions, like your friends, like I do with you guys, like I do with some of my friends online. They're fun, even if we disagree. You can't wait back. You want to continue it. You love doing it again. You can't wait to catch up with them. But when you have to be dead and presenting and this kind of gray lemming plodding along with pressing the button to this answer and pressing the reaction to that answer and acting this way and saying this. And, it's almost like a superstitious, people that if this happens, spin around twice and throw salt over your shoulder. That's bad luck. This is good luck. You become one of those people that just superstitiously engages in certain ways in conversation because it works. Because if you were to be real, it forces the other people to be real, and most people either don't know, they don't practice it, or they don't really have any interest in it. Which explains why so many people find it hard to get along and to even find partners or friends. Imagine how many people just go through life playing these scripts, right? And then that's all you know. Like, scripts work. Scripts work. I do this script. I know it well. Memes online. Have you heard this joke? It's all scripts, memory, scripts, memory, scripts. And you can get through conversations and hanging out people with these kind of scripts. Oh, what phone do you have? Did you watch this series on TV? Yeah, that was awesome. That was dope. That was fire. Just these colloquial terms and memes you spit out to people, and you don't have to think. You can just kind of just play tennis with well-rehearsed memes, right? And then you have a relationship that way, well-rehearsed memes. And even past the honeymoon period, she got accidentally pregnant, you have a kid. Oh, well, let's just keep it going. And you've heard the memes, and it's bullshit. You've heard the same things before. There's no new real-time generative conversation going on, ever. Not from you, not from her. You never even began with it. That's why the only way you can feel alive is with your buddies online, in the shed, going for a run, going for a bike ride, whatever it is where you actually feel free and your mind can wander to now. Don't do it to yourself. Don't try and find connection with people with scripts. Try and find connection with people using compatibility and resonance. Remember, if it's a question to me, guys, I'm not sure if some of these are a question to me. If it's a question to me, put 3 smiley faces or emojis in front of your comment. Barbarian says, not long ago, I stopped explaining myself why I do things and say things. Now I just smile and say, gut feeling. If they ask a third time, I'll share a little, less arguing, more yeah. Not sure. Oh, they ask you a question where you feel like you're put on the spot. The old you would have apologized, agreed, because it's easier, because they seem confident and they're pushy. But you just say, yeah, I don't know. Let me think about it. And especially with ex-girlfriends, you get comfortable with going, can I think about it? I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. Not now, later. And if they keep pushing and getting arguing with you, or gaslighting or blackmailing you, then they don't care. They just want you to do what they want. They don't give a crap about what you think. If it's a relationship where they're one half and you're another half, if it has to be all them and you have to say yes when they say yes, you can't think about it, because if you love them, you would say what they said. That's bullshit. No, you should have every right to say what you want to say as well. So when you learn to do this, like what Barbarian is saying, you don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to negotiate your maybes or your I don't knows. And you don't have to negotiate your yeses or your nos as well. If you say them politely, civilly, and beautifully, that's why I keep encouraging people to be interested in writing and language. So you can speak a little bit more like I'm trying to do and communicate clearly. What has anyone got to say if you communicate clearly and say, I don't know? Well, you should know. Really? I don't. So, okay, genius, like, tell me why I should know when can I not have time to think about this? No, if you love me, look, instead of blackmailing me, why can't I just give me a little bit of time to think about this thing? These pushy people with shaming, you just got to learn to always make sure you're good and thinking like, hang on, I don't like this feeling. They're being pushy. They're being fair. Don't I have a right? I can say, I don't know. I can say, no, not right now. If they're pushy, right? If you don't know, if you're on the spot and it's not a hell yes, then it's always a no. It doesn't matter. Because if it might have been a yes, had they given you a little bit more time, or if they weren't shaming you, you can let them know. Go, well, I'm not sure, but if I have to give you an answer now, sweetheart, it's no, because I don't know. If you give me time, it could be a yes, but if you want an answer now, it's no. You wanted an answer now. You have to be able to stand up for the reality of how you're feeling, guys and girls. David says, since my breakup with my ex, I found that reading Nietzsche, Schopenhauer, Kierkegaard, Jung, and other like-minded philosophers helped me stay in the right direction through validation. They're good. Make sure you read others as well, because those that you mentioned, they're telling you a lot of what you want to hear as well from a male point of view. They're great. I like those guys, especially Nietzsche. But Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer especially, they speak to a guy in a very manospherian, directed content. Like it's a very colored perspective, but great to kind of stand up for yourself. Jung is a bit more balanced, but they're good. But read others as well. But they're a good selection. Let me see, where are we? Yes. We are allowed to just know some of the things we believe. It's good to have an explanation, but it must not be provided on a whim every time. Yeah, people want memes, answers right away. People want their biases confirmed. If you want a conversation, if you say, let's talk about this, I'm not sure. That's a good question. You actually see that if people respect Jordan Peterson, when they ask him a question, he just doesn't give a meme answer. He actually thinks about it. He pauses for a second. You could tell he's considering a question probably he's been asked a lot of times, and he could easily just go bang and give you an answer. And sometimes we do that too. But it's good to actually listen to the person and give the answer of what you think now. It might be what you've always thought, but with the nuance of having thought about it and using this language in real time rather than a rehearsed and remembered meme. Boffin asks, do you attribute your mellowing out to something in particular, or did you just gradually, organically transition into it? Thanks for the question, Boffin. More questions like this, please. Not because they're about me, but because they're about the topic. Getting older and why you tend to argue less. I tend to get annoyed by small things. I'm becoming more of a cliche grumpy old man, which seems like it's antithetical to this, but I am not arguing and wasting my time on a lot of horse shit that is not interesting, that I know the answer to, and the answer is usually simple. It's not this multifaceted, complex machine of millions of cogs like the government connected to this, connected to women, connected to feminism. It's basically a lot of like looking in the mirror and making the obvious choice and observing reality and calling up and down and left, right, and rejecting game playing and gaslighting and asking for directness, being direct, communicating clearly. A lot of simple stuff works, right? That's the stuff that I'm not arguing about anymore. I'm not arguing about my ethics and values with other people. I'm not being strong-armed into other people's point of view. I'm much more clear about that. Other stuff is interesting around the world, but that's not me. My problems are solved with very, very simple solutions that I've learned. But in terms of your answer, my mellowing out was gradual, and it's why I've kept my older videos on my channel. You can see my progression, the topics and how I speak about them. I started off my channel talking really bluntly and almost annoyed at all the unfairness about dating and men and women and all that sort of shit. Without showing my face, it was just like a screen with a picture and just me talking into the microphone, and it was just words. And I got it all out because I felt safe and no one could see me and I was anonymous. Then after a while, I mellowed out. I wanted to be a bit more free and brave and show my face. And because this stuff was personal to me, I said a lot of the stuff I wanted to say. Now I wanted to be a bit more of a human, pardon the pun. And then I was like, because I was showing who I am, I couldn't just be performing and be angry. It's like, you know, let's be a bit more real. Let's compose ourselves. When I look at myself in the videos, let me not cringe at what I see. And then over time as well, like improving and doing streams, learning how to articulate my thoughts. And you kind of mellow out the more you start trying to tick off these problems and get better at getting rid of problems, minimizing them, learning to glide through them a lot easier than running into them like they're a wall, like you used to before. So it was kind of time. And then after a while, like around the time of my dad passing away, this was around the beginning of the bug that went around the world, I kind of really just had enough. Like it came to a head around that time, Dad's passing and all of that happening around the world. There's like, yeah, this is bullshit. This is all crazy. My life is not actually better. It's kind of just dead. And I'm just swinging at nothing. This isn't, where's the color gone? And then I just was really, it was mellowing out from experience. It's as easy as I can put it. And I'm pretty sure you can relate to this as well, Boffin and Peg as well. But it was a gradual process. You can point to one or two events, but they didn't really change it from black to white. It wasn't really an Eckhart Tolle moment where I was one person one day and then I woke up the next day and I was completely a different human being. No, it wasn't that. It was gradual and it was always building up. And if you look at my past videos and even my videos now, I'm just evolving out loud and I'm just trying to be honest about what the answers are. And I can have as much fun as the next person, just having, you know, enjoying, entertaining myself with politics and all that stuff, but it's not real. There's only so many times. This is the thing. This is why I don't want to, you know what, arguing about the same things over and over again because you're really well rehearsed in the memes. It feels like you're telling each other the same joke and you're pretending to laugh. Don't you feel that way, some of you guys? Where you hear the same lines about the manosphere, feminism, politics, social media, that's at the heart of it. It's like, it's the same joke. Like it's not talked about in different ways. It's like, I can't pretend to laugh. Can we tell a new joke? Can we maybe talk about the same thing with new material? It's the same stand-up comic on a channel, you know, figuratively talking about the same shit all the time. The performance is just thicker and thicker and thicker. The more the lexicon does not change, the more it's rehearsed. I can't laugh at your jokes anymore. The material's old, dude. New people, they haven't heard the joke before. They haven't heard the insights before. Yes, but I can't talk from that position. Stephanie told me this morning, she said, you know, if you were still talking the same way you did, like, you know, years and years before I met her, you'd be making kind of okay money now. I make nothing now. And I said, yeah, but like, how am I go nuts. I don't know how some of these people do it. I don't know how Pearly Things does it. I don't know how Richard Cooper does it. They make money, good for them. I just can't do it. And I'm not going to complain about it. This isn't me complaining. Make your money. I don't care. I hope your life is good. You probably sleep at night. You got a great partner. I'm guessing getting up every day and saying these things, as long as you can treat it like a business model. But I'm too much of an artist that I've got to do the thing that matters to me now. And I can't just keep Xeroxing yesterday over and over again. Good question though, Boffin. More questions like that, please. I've got to stop saying joking a bit, but I think you'll be a hell of a lot happier when you learn to not fall into road rage. Yeah, but it's all fun. I don't think I'm going to be the guy that gets out and swings a baseball bat at somebody. You never know, though. You never know. DRVP Scott says, somewhere around 50, I ran out of fucks. Now I don't have them to give. It's a much easier way to live. Yeah, I do know what Mark Manson means by not giving a fuck, and it's a great blunt force trauma sort of punch in the face of negative feelings like I don't care. But the language has got to work, because then it creeps up and then it makes you give a fuck, and you got to punch it in the face again. So what makes you naturally just not even, how can you naturally become not Velcro? What's the other thing that people just slide off of? How does the thing not affect you anymore? Why are we always Velcro? The thing sticks to us and we have to kind of punch it away all the time forcefully until we feel free. The point is to be slippery, where nothing sticks to you. Nothing catches on to you, where once it would have very easily. That's the trick, to be able to do that. That's where you got to get to, where you're not good at saying, I don't give a fuck, where you just don't, and it slides past you. That's what you got to get to. And they're the people we admire. We don't admire the guys, I mean, a lot of people subscribe to their channel, but you'd rather be the Zen guy that sees a screaming kid and it doesn't register, rather than be me, where a screaming kid just makes you want to flip a table. You know, you've got to get to the point where the awful kind of girl that used to make you fall over head over heels and do the wrong thing all the time, you recognize that, and you can see they're not good for you, and they just really don't stimulate you the way they used to. You can walk away from bullshit. You can disengage from people shaming. You know what to say. You don't have to explain yourself. That is one of the things I'm most proud of. I do it much more easier now, is when people question me what I do. You're still doing that. You're still drawing. You do YouTube. Isn't that a bit this? Why are you doing that? You should be doing this. As a married man now, you should be just like, nah, no, I don't. And I know how to say that. Like, no, I don't. I don't have to justify myself. I don't have to explain myself. And that's not me saying I have zero fucks. The result is maybe that, but it's like, nah, I don't have to justify. I don't negotiate my values with other people, because I don't do the same. I don't do that to them. I don't have to negotiate or justify a goddamn thing to anyone. We can talk. We can agree to disagree. We can be civil. But if you're going to try and twist my arm, if you're going to shame me, I don't care who you are, whether you're, not that they would, but whether you're, you know, wife, mum, dad, friend, whoever it might be. It's like, no, I'm not negotiating what I intrinsically love. That's got nothing to do with you, but just gives me joy, or I might have something that I'm a bit nervous about. Like if you're arachnophobic and someone's just like, well, dude, you know, don't be afraid of spiders. Thanks for the advice, dipshit. Yeah. Anyway. We've been going for just over half an hour now. All right. Let's refresh the live chat. There are 4 lights. That was a good episode. I think that was referenced from 1984. No, it was A Brave New World. What's the one where we will tell you what the answer is, comrade? Was it 1984? Yeah, I think it was 1984. When we stop squelching ourselves to keep others happy and the worst thing happens, some people leave. You realize it's not actually a bad thing. Yeah. Karu says, how much has your media diet impacted your mellowing out? That is another good question. Thanks, Karu. See, this is the reason I talk to Karu and Boffin a lot. How much does your media diet impact your mellowing out? And when did it click that 99% of them things that the manosphere complains about do not and will never impact you? Well, it was slowly. It was the first was when, if you're curious enough with your manospherians at the time, with your group of buddies, that you believe in certain things and you nod your head in unison at the same things. And then you start not questioning it, but saying, how about this? and they come down on you like a ton of bricks and they shame you, it's like, whoa, hang on a minute. That was an honest question. That's when I started to realize, no, this is bullshit. I'm actually looking for the truth. I'm not just trying to be pushy. I am trying to have an interesting discussion and take this axiom, this immovable biblical belief in the manosphere, and saying you all think this is 100% true. Like, she will never love you, or all women will do this, or all women will never do this, right? Now I'm going, well, that's like a very black and white perfect world. It's like, okay, that sticks out a lot in terms of logic. There's no gray area. This is perfect. This is like life and death. It just will happen. There's no gray area. And the moment I go, well, hang on a minute, that's not true, because me and people I know or whatever, can we say generally? No, all, eventually. It's just, okay, this is a cult. I can only repeat the light bulbs that make all of you feel good about yourselves, and I can't switch on any light bulbs that may make us feel a bit, not as good, because they're self-reflective and we may be the problem. And then I started to see, I can't feel good because I need to know that the answers are, if they're 100% correct, they need to be 100% correct. If they're not, if I can't explore, if I can't be curious, and for me, a curious mind has always had an ambience of a really nice kind of warm feeling in my life. I can be curious. I can draw this. I can think about that. I can read this book. If I can think this, I can discuss this. I can agree to disagree. I can have interesting discussions and debates. But if I'm not allowed, then I'm just in another prison. I can only pretend to think, but all I'm doing is repeating. So it was just slowly not being able to have the kind of discussions I used to have at the beginning in the manosphere. Then I started to see the manosphere change, and then I started to see I wasn't allowed to continue to explore the discussions that were broadening me, that were helping me grow, that were helping me go my own way and figure my own stuff out. I wasn't allowed to figure myself out. I had to figure myself out only under their very, very strict framework. And then more and more young spurgs that were populating the center and being the arbiters of all of this were policing me. It's like, hang on a minute, since when did we used to police curiosity in this space? And there was like, yeah, well, okay. I tried to defend that space for as long as I think I was one of the last people that was defending the acronym. Although there were some nice guys in there, but I removed that moniker off my off a self-descriptor. But it was gradual. So it wasn't like a when. It was just that I couldn't, everyone was, couldn't have the discussions that you, me, and say Boffin have, Karu, where it's fun. We could think very different things. I mean, how often are we agree with some points, but then sometimes, actually a lot of times, the friends that I like having discussions with, it's very common for the person to say, you know what, I completely disagree with that because I think blah-de-blah-de-blah. And none of us are children. It's like, I'm not going to be your friend anymore because you don't say what I say. And I can't preach to that choir. The reason I started my channel and these discussions and I enjoy these spaces is because I can explore. I can be curious. And this is the thing that's very telling. You cannot be curious and angry at the same time. It's impossible. It's a pillar of psychology, one of the few parts that have actually been proven, that it's impossible to be genuinely curious and angry at the same time. These spurgs are angry all the time. Therefore, they are far less, if at all, curious. And it's like, if I have to be one or the other, I don't like being angry. I like being angry that my curiosity is put behind a wall and I'm not allowed to ask questions and I can't get to what seems to be the truth. That's what I'm angry about with the world. But then when the manosphere starts to act like Chicky Poo and the government and the system, it's like, well, see you later. If I can't talk to you like a friend, but I talk to you like a machine, then nah. Answer that question. Yeah, at 58 years old, I found that working towards being mellow and serene is better for my physical health and well-being. This cap came bent in the mail. Teflon, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. Teflon, not Velcro. The opposite of Velcro. Boffin agrees with you, David. Yes, but depends what kind of meditation works for you. The meditation that works for me is going for a run, treadmill, exercise. Basically anything that's meditative, a meditative practice, going to the gym, but not thinking, get out of your head, switch that off. For some people, meditation works. The only type of traditional meditation that works sometimes for me is just relaxing and breathing, but not the other ones. They don't really work. I just kind of, it just doesn't feel right. I'm too aware of what I'm doing. So you've got to find something that switches your brain off. For some people, it's one thing. For others, it's something else. So. Yes, Teflon. DRVP Scott says, where does your chronic explaining come from, do you think? I think from a lot of frustration when I was young. When I was young, I was told to not question, act a certain way, keep my opinions to myself, or at best, don't embarrass us. I came from a Eastern European, very strict kind of, think Russian, Polish, kind of Balkans, very tough love kind of thing. Just don't embarrass us, speak well, present well, be mature. Like all of it, there's a good qualities, but when they're pushed to the extreme, you feel like it's just easier to keep all the authentic stuff to yourself in your room, your journals, like to your outlets and things like that. But in front of other people, you perform a certain way and you uphold that stoic tradition of whatever your parents say and whatever anyone wants. So if I ever did anything outside of that, I had to explain myself. And I felt like a deer in headlights. I couldn't. So I just said, yeah, you're right. Yes, mum. Yes, dear. I just went along with everything. Have a job. Don't lose your job. Everything is compliance, compliance, compliance. So I was taught compliance from a very young age. And anytime someone noticed something that wasn't non-compliant, that wasn't familiar to them, I had to explain myself. And I either kind of downplayed it, said, yeah, it's stupid. Don't worry, it's nothing. I agree with you. So I didn't really stand up for my values at all. And by the time you know your values when you're a young adult, it's very hard. That's where you've got to sort of break and really start to find the language to stand up for your values. A lot of people don't. They just feel the feeling and they can't find the switch for the words or the actions to push back and say no to the people that still expect you to be that toddler that stood to attention. So where does it come from? I think from childhood conditioning, though I don't use it as an excuse. It's good to recognize where it might come from, but the rejection of it and the severing of that cord is the important thing to kind of go towards what is the shining light now? What is the fire now? Being agreeable just to get away from a threat is not a good thing. You've got to kill the threat. You can't keep running away from the threat. And letting go of, arguing less. It's not running away. It's just, you don't have to move. You just let the threat go by. They can scream. The volume's just turned down. It's very different. Aldo says, the way you choose to spend your time is your responsibility and yours alone. It is also your prerogative. Yeah, because they're not going to be responsible for whatever choices I make. Your parents, family, friends, chicky poo, jobs, government, and everyone, they force you and shame you and manipulate you. And they lobotomize you into compliance. But if you're always frustrated by the compliance, like if your only alleviation is you do what they say and there's a little bit of a relief valve for you to just enjoy your real life in private until they put on the pressure again, and you always got to accommodate them. It's not a life, because you spend most of your time in a dead-end job 5 days a week at saying yes to mummy and daddy all the time, saying yes to everyone, like your partner all the time. And you can never just be happy and proud of yourself and not be fearful. You get older, and I'm just sick of being afraid of bullshit. Yeah, I'm sick of arguing in circular patterns. And the moment I deviate a little bit, even if I agree with you, let's continue to have a fun conversation about this old topic I know a lot about, but I don't want to talk in memes. I want to tell you how I really feel now. Oh my God, that's offensive. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. I didn't say it exactly to your cult-like script. Sorry. Like, do you want to hear my opinion, or do you want to hear me repeat the meme that you want to hear? I used to say that to exes. Don't ask me for my opinion. Just tell me what you want me to say. It's easier. But they won't do that, because then the spotlight is put on them. It's like, do you want me to be real, or do you just want me to say what you want me to say, you narcissist? That's what you're saying. So when your parents put you on the spot as well, let's use them as an example, and you're just tired of repeating the things that they want to hear, you can't even give a nuanced point of view. You have to push back and with a smile on your face say, Mum, Dad, do you want me to just tell you what you want to hear, or are you really interested in hearing what I want to say? You can be offended. You can make me feel bad all you want, but I'm not going to come around anymore. But look, if you ask me a question, you're asking me what I think. Do you want to hear what I actually think? Or do you want me just to tell you what you want? If you want me just to tell you what you want, then don't ask me. Just tell me you love me. Tell me this, tell me that. Don't shame me into giving you these actions and these ways of conducting myself to make you feel loved. You know, you've got to be aware of this and push back. And it's like, otherwise you're just going to be a slave to the rest of your life, and you'll get to your deathbed. Like most people, it's like, I should have been more honest. I should have lived more my life. I should have not cared what other people thought. It's cliche, but you have to do it, or don't. I don't care. It's your life. Across says, there's only 3 things in life that are black and white: death, taxes, and stupidity. By the way, human, have you by any chance seen the video I sent you on Discord yet? No, not yet. I haven't seen it yet. DRVP Scott says, it sounds like joining the manosphere was moving from one system of control to another. But look, the manosphere is great. It's a great break and a great initial way to stand up for yourself and see things clearly for once, where everything was a fog. But then you've got to want to continue to see things clearly, which is traveling more towards the personal, your ethics, and how you dance in accordance to the system, your parents, chicky poo, choices, expectations by society. You can't just keep complaining and saying no. It's like, okay, I know what I'm going to say no to, and I know what's unfair, how people treat men, everyone, whether it's personal relationships and external social ones, and what society thinks. Okay, now what am I going to do about it? How am I going to speak? What choices am I going to make? What am I going to say yes and no to? That's where you start getting self-esteem, and that's where your life starts to look demonstrably better than it did before. It goes from looking like a horror movie, a tense thriller horror, to just like a documentary where just this happened and that happened. It's just, there's no fear about it. It's just very calm. Manosphere was a good experience. I tried to hold on far too long, and it changed as well. Things change. Not just you, but the actual environment itself is very different. If it was the same conversations, the same peers making similar content, although expanding the knowledge, I could still see myself dropping in, having conversations. But as it stands now, it's just another flavor of the pickup group of dude bros. So whatever the popular channels are now online in the manosphere, they're ones I really don't have much to say on. And I remember towards the end, I was invited on a couple of podcasts on some of these more progressive manosphere channels. And I just realized that these guys were really talking with each other, bouncing off each other. And the moment they asked my opinion or I dropped my opinion, it was almost like crickets. I felt like there was no bouncing back. I was there giving my unique older guy or weird perspective. And then they were just repeating themselves. they saw things from a very, very similar perspective and a reflexive response to those things. Whereas from me, my responses were left field all the time. And I didn't feel like there was anyone on the panel that I was kind of clicking with. And this is the same thing when I started dating. I started to really notice I wasn't clicking with people. I wasn't clicking with the same girls. I couldn't perform anymore. So just like the podcast, just like the manosphere, just like dating, it was like I can see who I'm getting along with. I can see who is cut from my cloth and who isn't. Where are we? Friedrich says, had an argument with a girl I met at a bar. This is already the start of a bad story. I was at a brothel, and let me tell you what happened. I was in a car wreck, and then he goes, she was saying she could beat a man in a fight. I wanted to convince her otherwise for her safety, but I felt like talking to a wall, so I stopped. Yeah, I wonder why she's single and she's at a bar. It's like some people make their dating life tougher than what it needs to be. And I've said this, a lot of really tough dude bro guys from the manosphere, they feel strong because they've got this suit of armor around them. But what you're making it tough for yourself on a date, because someone who's relaxed, who doesn't want to fight, who just wants to have a nice time, who might be a really nice person, who you could get along with, you might be compatible with, they're not going to want to be with you because you've got this defensive, tough dude bro vibe and everything you say is sourced from there. Arguing less doesn't mean you never argue. Yeah, you choose your battles. How do you handle a discussion when the other person thinks it's about winning, not learning? Well, if it's an immovable object like that, then you just leave, or you just say, well, anyway, we're not going to agree on this, so let's just change the subject. And if they keep pushing, you say, well, look, you're not allowed, you keep disagreeing with me and you keep repeating the same point. I've told you what I think. What else? We can't further the conversation. You just need to explain what you see and experience clearly. And then you have to say, so do you just want to debate until you wear me down to agree with you? Is that it? Because you're not willing to talk outside your parameters. And I'm willing to maybe agree to disagree or agree with you here, but you won't agree with anything I say. Anything I say is true, you say no. Anything you say that is true, I'll agree with you if it's true, but you won't. So we're not going to get anywhere. So I don't want to have a debate. I want to have a conversation. And if they keep pushing and gaslighting, you just got to recognize the language. But you won't recognize the language unless you have interest in speaking, writing, and communicating better, because then you can recognize it. Otherwise, you're just going to keep defending yourself against people if you don't recognize what the language is, if you don't have better conversations. Neil says, hey, human, I think the manosphere is in a state of change. Things have shifted this last year, less anger, more thought, and looking forward, not back in time. Well, that's good to hear. I hope so. That'd be nice. That'd be refreshing. I hope so. That'd be really good. Yep, I agree. This is why it is so easy to tell when someone is angry and pretending to be curious at the same time. Two extremes feelings are fighting for space and causing tension. We call it being nosy. Yeah. Just realize that. You just need to remind yourself of those basic premises, and they can often help you. If the person's not having a conversation, if they're not curious, if they're just angry and black and white and debating, then you know what's going on. You know the difference between a curious conversation when someone's listening, not just talking at you. Karu says, how has the circle of people that you argue with has evolved over time? Is it the same as when you were younger, or why has it shrunk and expanded? I think that a lot of people take the easiest path, which is being emotional and going in circles and not helping being triggered what they're triggered by. They're not improving what triggers their emotional reactions, especially hatred, fear, discomfort, and things like that. I think it's shrunk by the consequence that less people want to do the hard but necessary thing, which is also the conversations they have. It's very easy to just go back on the memes that while they might be true in general, they are not true for your particular case to the extreme that you think they are in the black and white sense, if that makes sense. So I think my circle has shrunk, and it just happens naturally. People's circle shrinks, people pass away, people move. The more you know what you want and where you want to go, and everyone around you is also rational and knows themselves well, it's very, very unlikely that the two of you are going to go in the same direction. Just in the same, like I might have a best buddy. I get along with him really well. We have great conversations because we never shame each other. He knows who he is, what direction in life he's going to take. I know who I am, what direction in life I'm going to take. The chances of both of us having the same hobbies and wanting to go to the same place and doing the same thing, it's very, very rare, even though you're cut from the same cloth. So it's like, oh, it's a shame. My best buddy that I get along with, he wants to go down here, and I respect it and I can see it, and good for you. But I can't just like, well, now I'm going to be interested in the stuff my buddy's interested in because I don't want to be lonely. The truth of your life takes precedence if you're a curious and honest person. So I think it shrinks by dint of where you find your truth and your answers. And that's just the way it goes. Otherwise, you have to gaslight yourself to confirm your biases and stay in those little circles, which is why I think, and I understand why, a lot of guys stay in the manosphere in a particular little esoteric pocket, like the black pillars and all of that, because it's such a nice group of guys that it's more important to have the company, not be alone, than it is for the truth of going your own way. And whatever it might be having kids, it might be getting married, it might be becoming whatever, some religious person, or it might be moving to the middle of Texas. It might be, who knows? When you know what you want, you're just going to always go off on your own and then find another group. You can't take your past with you. You can't. If you're lucky enough to take a piece, you're lucky. But someone who knows themselves as well, 99% of the chance, you've got to leave them behind. It doesn't mean they're not a friend. Again, it's why it's also hard to find a romantic partners, because men and women are just wired differently. They're born differently right from the beginning. Then on top of that, you got to find someone who wants the same things out of life and wants the same direction, where you can compromise in the same direction because you've got the same kind of map. You and your best friends, you don't have the same map. You don't. You have similar ways of looking at reality. You know how to be polite. You've got social tact, various things, but you would never strong arm each other. It's why it's hard to find a good partner, a compatible one, because you don't have to compromise so much that you're going to regret for the rest of your life. You really wanted to turn left at that point in your life, but because you had your partner, you had to turn right because they wanted to, and forever you'll resent her and you're not happy in your life because you just really wanted to go left. Sometimes you need to choose left. I don't know. No, my circle isn't the same as when I was younger. Case in point, my friends, my high school friends, they'll be my friends for life. But whenever I catch up with them, we're always talking from the reference point of 25, 30, 40 years ago, who we were when we hung out, old high school stories. So that's already shrunk in my life, because you accumulate all this in your mid-20s and then your life starts to get smaller as you get older. So past midlife, because you're less afraid, or you should be, and you know yourself more, and that's just the price. To live a more authentic, genuine life, it means that you need to get rid of a lot of clutter. I hope I answered the question. Sometimes I just waffle on. I think I did. That's right. Some people have decided your role and just want you to play it. Yeah. And that's when you need to recognize that's what they're doing and say, look, I'm not an actor in your movie. Like, I can't just give you the lines you want to hear. Do you want to hear my thoughts or not? I'm not being rude. Why are you getting upset? Throw it back on them. Be reasonable. And they can suck lemons all they want, but that's on them. You're not saying anything rude. If they want your opinion, give them your opinion and say it as eloquently and as civilly as you can. And if they act like you just cancelled Christmas, that's not on you. Parents are really good at making you feel ashamed like this. This is why a lot of us guys have problems dating, where we're too nice. Because we had to be really nice to mummy. We couldn't say shit. Doesn't mean we need to be rude to our mothers. We need to respect them. But we weren't allowed to be 100% honest, and we weren't respected for our honesty and for our point of view. We had to be well-behaved, stand up straight, cardboard cutouts. And that's good when you're a kid, but at some point your parents really need to allow you to have opinions. But some of them can't concept connect between being a teenager to the problems it's going to cause you when you're an adult. Parents just run on the autopilot of, well, it worked when they were a toddler, and I'm just going to keep hitting the same drum, and I'm going to keep them in line in the same way. And then your little boy has problems dating, and you get annoyed at him again. Well, why don't you? It's like, yeah, this is the whole problem. I have to just submit to your anger. I have to submit and say yes to you. This is why I can't stand up for myself. I find it really hard. I'm working on it, but I don't need you on my back. Can you please just get off my back? You're not going to help me figure it out, so just let me figure it out on my own. Should shame and silent treatments create people pleasers? Should, no, but they do, because you're a vulnerable child. Overbearing and unbounded relationships. They do. Should, yeah. Should or could, but it does. That's weird. Having to deal with women that you need to control. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. It goes against all logic. If you were to describe that to someone, I agree, yes. DRVP Scott says, it did seem that much of the value of the manosphere came from mutual validation. That is what people seem to go there for. So don't be different. But when people really went in there in the early days, remembering it's about going your own way, just remembering to reiterate, hang on a minute, let's remember what the definition is. It's about individuality, going your own path. Then it started to be, well, you can't go that way and you can't do it that way. It's like, okay, now you're putting rules by which I can and can't go. Otherwise, you guys are going to laugh at me all the time. I'm not telling you how to define your way, but then you're starting to and then it started to be, well, if you do this, if you move in with a girl, if you get married, if you sign this contract, like it's the only way you can be your own way is to reject the world completely and everything around you. The only thing you can control is you in a room with a locked door, and nothing's going to get you, and you're not beholden to anyone or anything. You are beholden to your brain eating you alive and not being in touch with reality. That's another story. But that's when I kind of started to sense that I was not as comfortable in the manosphere as I used to be. But if it's changing, good. But yeah, people go there because for once they're heard, for once they're seen. Guys, they spend them time in relationships, even with a pretty girl, even with a nice lifestyle in a job that pays a lot of money. But there's something that when you feel invisible, when you're living a life that everything is gray, you can smile for the cameras, but you can say yes, dear, to your wife and chickie poo, but you can't live with it when you get to midlife and beyond. You just can't. And so guys go through hell trying to, because they just don't want to flush the investment of decades down the toilet. But you have to say, well, isn't it better leaving the poker table now with a few chips? Even if I take away 2 chips and I flushed away 300, I know it's annoying and it's embarrassing, but it's better having 2 chips and being embarrassed by 300 than going all in and crossing your fingers that you're going to hope a dragon turns into like a sheep It's not going to happen. You're going to end up having no chips because time will disappear. You won't have the time to restart living genuinely and being yourself. Aldo says, you have to take an actual unapologetic stand at some point. Yes, you do. You have to experience that just for the fact of you realize right afterwards, that felt great. I'm so proud of myself. That felt awesome. Ripping the Band-Aid off, however nerve-wracking it feels, you turn around and you do it to someone, family, chicky poo, job, anyone, you righteously, and you know it's correct, and you do this, or you stand up for yourself, and you stun them with the clarity of your conviction, and you're not ashamed of it, you don't feel embarrassed. It's such a good feeling, and you want to do it again and again. You articulate it better, and you just start operating from that mode, and you don't have to build a suit of armor around you. You can just stand up for yourself whenever it's necessary. It doesn't mean being someone that's always a hammer looking for nails to hit, but you know when to bring out the hammer. Across says, the way I see it, the red pill, the manosphere going, all are not bad things. The problem is people like PUAs and morons who took the concepts to the extreme and they are allowed online. It's like any part of YouTube. The ones that kind of make it a business and monetize it and say the things and talk about the topics in a very commercialized sense, are they the problem? Everyone's watching them though. So it's a human being problem. People don't want to think. That's the thing. People will take the path of least resistance. And in these areas like the manosphere and MGTOW and all of that, they used to be, maybe they're changing, they used to be, say the easy thing that will make me feel great. Like you're not the problem. You don't have to do any work. Everyone else is at fault. You're the good boy and everyone else is the bad villain. Karu, that is a great point. I arrived to the same conclusion after a while. Karu made a good point. Wow, I'm joking. Some were family members. Yeah, okay. Richard, how does having Steph's perspective on things make you understand things differently? I just have a different point of view to bounce my own ideas off instead of a very simple echo chamber where I used to before and fighting views that I really didn't agree with. So it's just being a bit more flexible, learning to listen at different points of view. Most times Stephanie is either simpatico with me or believes exactly what I believe, but sometimes she thinks very different things. But they're not irrational, they're just from a different point of view. And it helps you be cool with a different point of view without spurging out as well. Aldo, is it counterintuitive but true that sharing interests will not guarantee you get along with someone? That's true. You don't, just because the two of you play video games doesn't mean you're going to have a great relationship. You need to get along. Temperament, values, things like that, how you react to things, how you see the world, what you want to do, where you want to go in life. Yeah, interests alone, no, not at all. Look, Stephanie writes as well. There's a shared interest we have. That's a really good one. And conversationally, it's really interesting. She can talk deeply and things like that. But she's very much her own person who likes her own things. It's the respect we give each other as well. And the willingness to see things from another perspective. That's the thing. So hobbies are a physical manifestation of a perspective that someone's into. Whereas the ability to talk and see from different points of view, that's an entirely different thing. So you can look for a stubbornly Xerox copy of you, but that's impossible to find. And if you found someone exactly like you, at the end of the day, you start competing with yourself in the form of another person that you're sleeping with. But you just need to have the same kind of values and similar ways of being fair and having the conviction of the things you believe in. So having the exact same conviction of how we're going to do a relationship, how we speak, how we put the relationship first, how no matter how much we have differences of opinions, that the way we conduct ourselves, the how and the why and things like that. So just the interest, that's just a very shallow, tepid view of looking for a perfect solution. That's not going to guarantee anything anyway. If anything, it can be dangerous. You could pick someone that's wholly wrong for you, but you say, well, same interest. We both play video games. Tick, marry me, move in. At least we can both converse via video games. But then, no, you can't. Any more than two people who bump into each other at a park because they're walking their dog and they go, oh, I find you attractive. We both like dogs. Let's move in together. We're single. No, don't get fooled by that. That's a very common thing for people to get fooled by. The outward appearance of a hobby or a thing that they've got a shared interest in, that's compatible. No, your compatibility is talking, shared values, and wanting the same things out of life. Exactly the same lifestyles. I was referring to all the shoulds parents heap on you. It goes with the shame. Yeah. They're telling you what you should do, how you should act. Yeah. There's reasonable, but then there's just do what I tell you and don't talk back. Well, Mum, Dad, I'm 50 years old. What do you mean? Oh, got some super chats. Thank you very much, Cara. Thanks, dude. Aldo says, thank you, by the way, also for the super chat. He says, one partner must submit to the other in case of disagreements. This is why monarchies persisted for so long. Even democracies have presidents. Fair enough. Yeah, there's compromise and then there's submission. Compromising on stuff that really doesn't matter, because there's people in the manosphere that don't compromise on anything and they're just idiots. Like, I'll never watch, she's got to be in my frame and she's got to watch Rambo, Predator. I'm never watching a romantic movie. She has to do my stuff. She has to be on my side and support her man and do everything I want, but I'm not going to do anything. If she's broken her arm and she can't wash the dishes and she's got to be laid out for a week, I'm not washing the dishes. They're going to pile up because it's her job and I will never help her out. That kind of stuff, that's kind of myopically stupid. You don't want to help. You don't want to compromise temporarily or for something. You compromise for stuff that doesn't really matter. But if it's one-sided, then yeah, I'm not compromising. I'm not watching a romantic movie because you never want to watch any of mine. I've watched yours and you just flatly are black and white and you don't want to come to my side and be fair. Then yeah, I'm not going to be fair with you anymore either. That is different. But don't start defensively like, this is my relationship and it's all about my frame and you're just a puppy on a leash. And a lot of women think the same way. You're being as bad as they are, but you think you're being tough. This is the parts of the dude bro dating manosphere that just to bug the shit out of me. You're acting like the worst women that you hate. And you can see it because they have them on their podcast. They talk about the best women and they have the worst ones on their podcast. Don't have them on. Make them disappear from the world. Stop talking about OnlyFans. Stop having these idiots, these degenerates that you have nothing but contempt over. Like the more you give them the stage, the more people will want them because they're a hot mess. Man, Jesus. Barbarian says, where do I find a woman who wants to watch Rambo and Predator back to back? If you find someone that you're compatible with, the chances are high. Stephanie never watched any of them. When she fell for me and I fell for her, she watched all the movies I like and she could appreciate them from my perspective. She goes, oh, that was cool. I can see why you like it. It's not my film. It's a guy film. But I can see why but she never would have watched it in a million years. But if you're compatible with someone, she'll probably watch all the movies that are favorites to you because she's at least curious. She wants to know what you love. It's like you saying, well, this book is my favorite, but no, don't look at it. I don't want you to read it. Why not? Because I don't want you, like, of course you want to share everything that means something to you. Even a stupid movie. Neil O'Matic, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Thanks, Neil. Human, just a thank you for here in the States. You have helped so many blokes out so many years. Thanks. Oh, thanks, dude. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, if I can, this is the thing. If I have to quack like a angry blame the system and blame feminism kind of duck all the time, and I don't really believe that's the heart of actually fixing your problems. I think that being confident and standing up for yourself without apology, while you're a well-spoken, confident person that has nothing to be ashamed of, it's all these other idiots, whether it's your girlfriend or your family or your bosses, they're the ones who should be apologizing to you, but they never will. They won't, right? Because they're the childish ones, but you're always made to feel like a child. I hope that if I can help guys by being I'm hoping articulate example of an everyday kind of guy that sees the shaming when it's shaming, sees when you don't have to apologize for who you are, and your values are never up for a negotiation because there's absolutely nothing wrong with them, even if people don't understand them. If I can help guys by just chewing on the honesty that I'm trying to get to in my videos as I'm evolving, then I'm grateful for that. But I can't just, keep hitting the same manosphere drum and telling guys, yeah, you're great. You're a nice guy. See, we're so nice. No one appreciates us. We're a Picasso that no one wants to buy. How stupid are people? It's like, is it part of it is true that people abuse nice people? I get that. But then also, how do you stop being abused? Because I don't want to know I'm a guy that's a nice guy, yet I'm always getting walked all over. I want to stop getting walked all over. And it doesn't mean being an arsehole. I want to respect who I am. But it does mean starving the arsehole of any nutrition where they can just use their own kind or use idiots. But I want to find my tribe. I want to have a happier life. I want to have a smile on my face. I want to enjoy my hobby. I don't want to keep fighting from this like small little corner and looking like I don't know what I used to look, when you see people on the street, people who are yelling at pigeons and screaming about some religion or some view of the world. It's like, yeah, good luck finding a friend or dude, like you're a person with thorns. No one can touch you. Like, I feel sorry for them, But anyway, I hope I can help guys. And how you might disagree with a lot of my stuff. You might really resonate with the old stuff, but all I'm doing now is what I did before in a different way. I made videos that I was passionate about. It made sense to me. This perspective made sense. I could be wrong 5 to 10 years from now, but right now, this is what I believe in. And I think that's a more honest answer than the person just repeating the same things just to get YouTube revenue or do what's popular. I knew what would blow up my channel 5 to 7 years ago. I would have somewhere between 250,000 to 500,000 subscribers right now and making an okay salary. And I could probably not work. And people say, well, you're an idiot. You should have done that. I wouldn't have been able to. I wouldn't have been able to do this. I couldn't. I would run out of repeating the same points in different ways. My creativity would only be, how can I change my sentences up enough around the exact same phrased idea? I can't. At the end of the day, reality and having a true and honest life and perspective and being proud of yourself and all that sort of cliche stuff that some people roll their eyes at. It's just more important than money. If I have to be a prostitute to earn a few shekels on YouTube, yeah, someone else can bend over and take that, not me. Mike says, Zdravo slovo, kako si? Dobro, kako si ti? By the way, nice collection of baseball caps. As they say, it's better to be happy than to be right. But I would add that the silence is the best answer. Yeah. If you can't be reasonable with a person, if you realize you're talking with an emotional black and white kind of idiot or sort of a religiously, even if they're sensible, but they're just like well within parameters. It's like, I can't get them to talk in the middle. I can't get them to build a bridge between me and them in a conversation. I have to go over to their side to talk with them. And if you can't and you won't, and there's nothing in it for you other than to submit and lie about their point of view, then you just need to walk away and say, well, let's say change the subject or verbalize, well, I can't speak with you because you won't acknowledge any reasonable offer I make. You just keep talking from your point of view and trying to debate me. So let's change the subject. You may need to make them, even if they're intelligent, aware of how childish they're being in a polite, nice vocabulary where they can see where you're coming from. And if they still don't, you can't argue with the child. As Dave Sims says, in a battle between reason and emotion, reason must either capitulate or reason must leave. And most of the time, you just need to leave. Yes, why not? Hit the like button. YouTube loves it, and it'll send it to more people, and maybe they'll find a different perspective on these discussions like I'm trying to do. Okay. Aldo says, there will be power struggles in any relationship. It is our nature and perhaps should be. It is in our nature and should be. You don't want two exclusively passive partners either. Yeah. But if you know how to stand up for yourself, like for instance, if Stephanie or I, we're passionate and I start to veer off into me territory, it's up to the other person to kind of go, hang on a minute, that's not correct or that's not fair because you're just wanting me to agree. I don't agree with this because like keeping it grounded in reality and fairness and respect is another thing. Don't sort of run downhill and start to shame the other person and character assassinate them and start to be idealistic and stuff. As long as respect's there. And this is the thing about being curious. If you can actually see that they respect you in a conversation, whether it's a friend or it's a romantic partner or parents or whatever, when you see someone arm wrestling you, like, no, I'm going to get my way. You know, you meet those people. I've met those women on dates. They act confident, and I'm sure they are in their own narcissistic way, where they say, I always get what I want, kind of trying to signal that they're attractive or they've got a lot to offer. And it's like, all I hear is a selfish person that just gets their own way all the time. Being with you is going to be hell. There's one particular woman that I went out with, and I saw it right from the beginning. And this is what I mean about when you learn to speak and see these things in yourself, you start to see them in other people's, or especially the lack of it. I went out with somebody, and she was very confident. She was very kind of mysterious, sexy, but you could tell is one of those, like, you're older like me and you're single. Let's talk and let me discover your personality, because I'm a bit skeptical. It's probably something. Maybe there's something we're not compatible with, but the chances of you being a match for me where you're a reasonable person that just hasn't found the right person like me, I'm a bit skeptical. Let's see through conversation. And very quickly, I remember when I arrived there, I got there like 5 minutes before her. I wasn't trying to be early to the restaurant. And as I was getting out of my car, she pulled up next to my car. And as she got up, she was like, good, you're here earlier than me. Usually I'm the fast one here. Punctuality, that's really good. And I was like, okay. And then in the restaurant where we had like lunch, we just like had a snack. And she wanted I remember I looked at the menu. I was like, let me just see whatever there is that is what I want. And I didn't want to eat anything. And I just kind of got a coffee and I got a muffin, or I can't remember, just something small. I picked whatever was the thing closest to what I want in the menu. And she picked this tea, like chai tea with something with whatever milk. It was very, very particular, right? And we had this very young waiter. You could tell they were new. And they were like, I'm not sure if we can do that, miss, because it's only what we have on the menu. And she was like, no, it's okay. Just, I'll have that, but add milk, but take this away. And I want 2 things of this. And she was making it so complicated. It wasn't just an addition or a subtraction. It was just this entitled need to have an exactly curated tea. And I said, just order that. No, it's all right. You can do it. And she was like comfortably just saying, no, you can do what I want. It's no problem. She was calm about it. She wasn't embarrassed. And after he went, the manager came with him, and the manager was like, oh, sorry, it's a new, they're new and so on. And she kind of made this mini scene. She wasn't raising her voice. And the manager was like, what did you want? She says, I want this and this and this and this. And he says like, normally it is the way it is, but for you, madam will do it for you, and it's no problem whatsoever. And then the manager talked to this young guy, and I don't know what they said. And after they left, she said, see, no big deal. And I'm like, fucking hell. Imagine being with, like, it was so obvious. And then by the end of the night, I remember it was very clear. Like, I don't get you. You're such an unreasonable. It's either I have to be in your relationship your way, and if you don't like it, you're just going to push and push and push, calm, passive aggressive, whatever way, and you're just going to get what you want, and you're never at fault, and everyone else is getting things wrong, and I'm going to be one of those people. And I think she even said, yeah, I usually get what I want. And she was very proud of it. And good for you. In business and stuff, I can see a lot of people having great lives like that. But when it comes to relationships, man, that is a recipe for disaster, especially for the person who submits. When you get a very confident person who controls every aspect and you're essentially a pet, not a good, unless you're a masochist. If you really love that, you know, if you're a man who loves getting pegged in that way, just in the whole relationship, then good for you. If that really does it, if it puts a smile on your face. Whereas if you have to make decision, nah. I love being nice to the partner that respects me and that I love, and I can tell we're compatible. I hate submitting. I hate being the chick. You know, whenever a girl makes me feel that way, literally I get a direction. I just can't. I don't even want to go to bed with them. I just don't when they're acting that way. I just can't. They're just not. I don't know if it's about femininity. It's something about that. But there is what we make money, what will make money, and there is what concords with our values. The one you choose most often speaks to your character. Look, character, it's yours. It's if you go by your principles, you might end up under a bridge, but can you live with it? You know, sometimes there's a bit of a compromise. You can't be too idealistic because it doesn't dance with reality. You can't be too, because a lot of the people on the manosphere, they're too idealistic where I agree mostly, but dude, come on, you're going to live under a bridge. You won't have any friends. You're going to tear yourself apart mentally. Isn't the topic of tonight's question rather obvious, or is there a contingent of us who are happier arguing more? I think most of the people on my channel understand this, but it's a great reminder sometimes where you get a lot of the media trying to bait you into, because most of the content is baiting you into the arguments and the politics and having no power because you're screaming into space and you spend all of your time watching those videos because that's all they feed you. The question is obvious, why you're happier arguing less. It is, I know. It's a bit bright today. Hang on. the sun came out. Really? I haven't seen that movie for a long time now. I know it was a popular one. I remember watching it. I thought, good story, but definitely a chick film. No. She was a Macedonian woman. It was a long name, like Angeleska or Katerina or something like that, like a long multi-syllable name. All right. Yeah. Imagine how awkward. Oh, man. No, not like that. Fast. Not, I don't like that. No. Yes. No. You're not doing it right. Like, oh, man. You cannot, like, I did yes, dear a lot when I was younger in various other parts of dating. But when it came to the bedroom, when you have to do yes, dear, that compliance, it just doesn't work physically. Like, without getting too graphic about it, I remember the times that I couldn't get it up was with these kind of controlling women that wore the pants in the relationship, in the, like, when they tried to kind of control everything from the bedroom to where we go. And like, you just feel like you're walking on eggshells. But when you take the lead and they like you taking the lead and you're not having to walk on eggshells, they're the best relationships I've had. The best ones I've had is my current marriage and one other relationship in my past. Yep. All right. Any final questions? Thank you to the super chats today. You guys are great. You're very generous and I appreciate it. Especially Neil. Thank you very much. That was a generous super chat. I appreciate it. All right. Yeah. And this is a good thing to always calibrate yourself in conversations when you feel like you want to dive deep into an interesting topic, especially on dates, is if you can't, just accept you won't be able to talk about this stuff at all. I mean, I can't, there's different ways I can talk. Like with the guys, I can get into more philosophical, abstract, concept connecting conversations that I can't get to with Stephanie, but Stephanie can talk to me and listen and give her perspective and be interested in the more esoteric philosophical discussions I have and questions. But if you can't, be realistic. Like I can't talk to this chick about anything I find interesting. Anything I'm curious about just doesn't register. She rolls her eyes. She just wants to go shopping, talk about pretty things, have kids, have a little pet that she calls her baby, you know? My voice is going. Let's wrap this up. Yeah. What's important? More important. You won't sound weird if you just go, I'm sounding honest. And also, if you can modify your language to still communicate what you want, but you don't need to use, obviously, I don't use more eloquent words that I tend to use here and on my channel when I'm talking to family and friends. You've got enough maturity and tact to be able to still communicate the idea while making your lexicon a bit more pedestrian, if you know what I mean. So you can't, these guys on the manosphere or whatever little sect they're in, they only learn that language and that's where they feel alive and they want to push back and they want to stand up for themselves with that language. But that language makes you look weird in front of everyday people. They just look at you even more weird. So you won't get your point across. You need to have the tact and intelligence to modify your language without modifying your message. Yeah. There's also a reason that these chicks who are hot, who are all just about shopping in the bedroom and they're empty inside, they're simple, I get it, and they're fun for a minute, but it's also the case why they're perpetually single and they can't find anyone. It's not just their stubbornness and their selfishness, it's that they just, if they had any self-reflective intelligence, they'd be able to start to recognize, well, I'm a bit angry here and I can see why I get arguments and why this happened and I can see why I screwed that up. And then even if you've got temper and whatever, when you can see it, you can start to ameliorate it and have better relationships mainly. But if you're just blind, if you're a blind, selfish idiot, guy or girl, you'll get what you'll get. It won't change. Keep blaming the world. The world's not going to give a shit. I suppose two well-adjusted partners are less conflict, but isn't some degree of friction part of the attraction? No, not friction. Curiosity, different points of view. You're going to have different points of view. And the more honest you are, you'll have conversations like, yeah, I like this turns me on, or I really think this, I hate this. And they're going to, ooh, it's still interesting. It doesn't mean that you just say yes, dear, to everything. You understand each other, you trust each other, so you can go places where you wouldn't go with other people. You can share freaky, stupid ideas that if your boss or society heard you, that you'd be cancelled. Yeah, that was a good film. Captain America, interesting. Followed you for years. Your voice, look, and message have not garnered more subscribers. However, most are not as cerebral as you. They don't get it. Yeah, look, and this is who I am. I'm trying to communicate, not show off with language, but I find interesting what I find interesting, and I also knew that the way I am, I've got to find a partner that finds this interesting and likes it as well. And I know I'm weird in this way. And I can't just modify myself to a degree where I become someone else, just wear a mask to produce content that everyone wants to see. I can't produce cornflakes for people because it's popular. Yeah? And it's not that I'm better or anything. It's just I know where my fire is, you know? And I remember when I first met Stephanie, I would blab and let all this stuff out. And I knew I was doing the correct thing. I knew I was just showing myself unfiltered. And if it was going to work, and if it was as authentic as I thought it was, she's going to like it and accept me for who I am. And a lot of times in the first year when I blab, I say, yeah, sorry, I'm just going off the rails again. And she said, no, I love it when you talk. And she always says it. I love it when you talk. I love it when you go off. Like, that's you. And she's always smiling. So you'll only find the audience that's for you. It's cliche, but that's what happens. But if you're chasing the algorithm, whether it's on YouTube or if you're chasing the algorithm of what's effective on dating, as in getting anyone or getting any subscribers, then if you're a thinking cerebral person, you're not going to be happy. You're going to be driven crazy by a job that doesn't fit you, by a YouTube audience that doesn't fit you, by a girlfriend that doesn't fit you, by friends and family. Like, it all just, it's a tick in your brain, like on the Matrix. It's there, and you see it for what it is, and you just can't anymore. Yeah. Yes. If you are intelligent, you should be able to modify your language to still communicate your ideas. You should be able to. You should be able to learn to communicate better. Simple things like saying and and whatever and like all the time. You can minimize those things. You You don't have to learn big words. You can use your own vocabulary. You can slow down. You can learn to speak. You can think more, communicate your ideas better. I like language. I like reading and words and things like that. I find kind of like a creative beauty in it. I like stories. I write stories. So yeah, I've got a personal interest in it, but it also serves you in being able to communicate too. But yeah, a wise person, an intelligent person can adapt to communicate and see the audience in front of them. If I want to tell a toddler to pass me something, I can modify my language that they will understand me more. And so too, I can modify my language to a dear old grandmother from Europe that barely knows English. I can modify my language to communicate with her, so too with someone else. But if you have to modify your language and what you believe, especially if you have to modify what you believe to your partner, the one you say you want to love and that you should compatibly love, that's where the problem lies, where you have to do that. Don't do that. The long TLDR, this man struck gold or was struck by whether way he's happier now. It's totally a different vibe now, and I do enjoy the maturity and acceptance of how life works, man. Yeah, I'm just tired of fighting. And it's common when you get older. You'd hope that you find some answers and you pick some right things and you let go of the bullshit. You know, I let go of a lot of friends and people and pastimes and jobs and things that just weren't working. You have to choose doing the right thing for you compared to hanging on to things that even if they pay off, like making YouTube videos because I can make a few more bucks. Is that a good life for me? Or having an equilibrium about my life and having friends that I can talk to and always love chatting to, regardless. I always get a glass half full positive reaction to seeing a friend online that I want to switch my microphone on and say hi, or catch up with a friend when they say, hey, Bob, coffee? Yeah, sure. That's the friends you want, not the ones, hey, where are you, stranger? Got time for a chat? And then you have to go, actually, no, because you don't want to talk to them. Not because you haven't got time. You want less of that and more of having fun. If you're not, I understand pushing back on the things that are stifling your life, like the entry level of the manosphere. But if afterwards it's all just anger, pushback, and you're saying, look, what are some of the answers? What are some of the good things? Like, what's some of the fun? What's some of the going your own way? What are some of those? Freedom. You can do whatever you want. What freedom? Freedom. It's always a door that hasn't been opened yet. It's all a million possibilities. That's all freedom seems to mean to people, that no one's picking anything. But anyway, let's not talk about that. But yeah, you should be happier as you get older. I would say that this is self-evident, as someone mentioned in the chat. But also, if you're not happier as you're older, there's something very, very wrong, because you're not doing the thing you should be doing. Whoa. Okay. Exposure comp. It's very bright. I don't have my ND filter, actually. Anyway, we're going to end the stream soon, anyhow. Right. Any final questions? We're wrapping it up because I've been going for, an hour and 45 minutes, nearly going for 2 hours. And bloody, blah. Okay. I turned off, like I had the minimal setting for YouTube to, they want you to, the default is they put ads during the stream, and I had the minimal on and it was just littered through the timeline. I watched one of my streams on someone else's account the other day, and my stream kept getting interrupted every minute, it seemed, and that was the lowest setting. And so I just switched mid-roll advertising off, and switched on manual, which means I'll add it in later. But that's ridiculous. Who's going to watch a stream if they keep getting interrupted every 30 seconds to a minute? Talk about being so greedy that you're ruining the people who are giving you content's motivation. Let's just, fucking hell. Aldo says, I post stuff on Instagram. I find that I'm more coherent when under a bit of pressure or rush, and I don't have time to use lofty language across as, I know this will sound stupid, but taking this approach of the 5 stages of death in other instances, literally death can help you live in life. Yeah, but don't get too theatrical about some of these words. Like dumbing it down to something that's very basic, like, is this fair? Getting annoyed at someone who's manipulating you. Like, don't get too theatrical, because the more theatrical and highfalutin stuff is, the more it only works cerebrally. But when you're in front of someone, you can't translate it into words. You can't just say like, no, it's not fair, or let me think about it. What's your problem? No ads today, yeah. Oh, okay. All right, I think let me just refresh the chat one more time, and then let's call it a day. All right. Have a good day, everyone. I think this was a good one. But it goes without saying, you should be happier when you're older. You should be arguing less. And if you're still arguing, there's a problem with you. Why you're arguing? You should not be arguing as much, because you should modify your life, the people you talk to. You should know what you want. You're saying yes to too many things you used to keep saying yes to that you don't like, and it's wearing you down. Have conversations, less debates, more chats, more conversations. All right, everyone. That'll be it. I'll catch you next week. Bye.